I'm not accusing them of anything. I'm not saying they've done anything wrong. All I'm doing as an independent journalist and investigator is connecting dots and asking questions. So I just want to go on record that I'm not accusing any of these people of wrongdoing. I'm simply making connections here and asking questions.
In HD, from the station that brings you more West Texas news. News West 9 at 10 starts now.
New at 10, conspiracy theories have now been floating around for weeks about a military operation in West Texas. But what's really happening? Julia Dang went to find out.
Jade Helm 15. That's what the United States Army is calling a large-scale military exercise. Special Operations Command will be training with other armed units beginning in July in 5 states, including Texas.
Jade Helm for July 15, 2015 through September 15, 2015.
After an Army presentation last month, Big Spring officials gave them permission to train within city boundaries.
The community will be aware sometime that they're here, and sometime the community won't be aware. And it'll enhance the ability of them to respond in the future.
Officials couldn't tell us exactly how many
United States
troops,
Army Special Operations Command Jade Helm from July 15, 2015 through September 15, 2015. We have Mr. Thomas Meade here. If you would come forward, welcome. I think he's come all the way from Edville, North Carolina, to make this happen.
Thank you all very much for having me here this evening. I bring you greetings from Fort Bragg, North Carolina, United States Army Special Operations Command. I just want to be able to thank you all for allowing me to speak tonight to the City Council of Big Spring. This is an honor for us to be here to address you and give you some information on the exercise that we'll be conducting this summer in Howard County. My name's Tom Meade. I'm a retired Special Forces senior non-commissioned officer. I spent 20 years in the Army and spent 13 with Special Operations. I'm currently a contractor working for United States Army Special Operations Command as an operations planner and an exercise designer for the Jade Helm project. With me this evening I have Master Sergeant Tim Robinson. He's an active duty Green Beret with 3rd Special Forces Group out of Fort Bragg. Tim's helping us design this exercise to get it going, make sure it goes in the right direction. My purpose this evening, make sure we're is it here? Yes. All right. So my purpose here this evening is we are seeking written invitation and approval from local officials to conduct the realistic military training exercise within the jurisdiction of the city. This means we're out in the public, we're here in your communities. The RMT process was designed by United States Special Operations Command down in Tampa, Florida, by General Votel's staff. General Votel is the commanding general of Special Operations Command, who controls all of the special operators throughout the Department of Defense. But the most important thing is it ensures proper coordination between the Department of Defense and the local entities. Through the process, we're required, as I'm here tonight, is to receive or to ask for a letter of invitation from local officials, inviting us into your community to allow us to train our soldiers for the next fight that they could encounter. We're not training for Afghanistan and Iraq, the things that we've done in the last 15 years. We're looking forward, and we want to make sure that these guys are trained properly. This is where we need the help of the local communities. We coordinate with all the local, state, and federal law enforcement. We've already been and we've coordinated with the police chief here in Big Spring. We've coordinated with Sheriff Parker already. We have coordinated up at DPS at the state level already. So everybody from a law enforcement aspect understands what the exercise is, and we want to make sure that we are completely plugged in with them to make sure they understand what's going on. We have a public affairs officer who does a complete public affairs review based off of the activities that will occur. We do licensing agreements and memorandums of agreement and memorandums of use with landowners and local governments to allow us to do things on their property. The land use agreements that we do with the local public, we don't just come in to somebody's property, and we won't trespass on somebody's property without the agreement of that landowner. The licensing agreement truly allows us, or it releases liability from the landowner. And we do a full risk assessment and medical plan. We've already linked in with the hospital. We understand how they get the life flight. We also have medical personnel that will be on site to assist should anything happen. What is Jade Helm? Jade Helm is a challenging 8-week exercise. Truly, in this area, in the Martin and Howard County area, we're only going to be here for about 5 to 5.5 weeks. The 8 weeks comes in where it's the preparation and the planning that happens back in Florida and in the Mississippi area. The exercise is a joint military and interagency activity. What this means is we have units from every military service participating in the exercise with us. And we also have some of our interagency partners, such as the FBI, the DEA, and some of the other agencies assisting us and working with us in the exercise. The exercise is unconventional warfare. I'm going to explain that from 2 different angles. Number 1, conventional warfare. Conventional warfare, when you think of that, that is tanks on tanks, uniformed enemy on uniformed enemy, fighting in formation against each other. As you know, we don't normally fight that way. Our country doesn't fight battles. United States Army Special Operations Command, being the director of the exercise, desires to have a very rural area for us to be able to operate in. Because the last few years, these guys have, in Afghanistan and Iraq, they receive aerial resupply by helicopter about once a week. They live in buildings. They have connectivity to the internet to be able to talk to their command, but also to be able to talk to home. When they come out here to Martin and Howard County, they're not going to have those luxuries. In the scenario that we've built, they're going to have to operate outside of those normal support mechanisms and rely on the folks, the civilians that are in the area to be able to support them. We have a backside support element that actually will replicate that, but we also ask for, we can't do the exercise without the public's help. Things that we look for from that perspective is we look for people that are willing to be a role player, to just be someone who goes and gives a little nugget of information for them to build an intelligence picture to understand the scenario better and be able to operate better. We look for people that are willing to transport our guys because they have to move around in a clandestine manner. For example, in the back of a horse trailer in the middle of the night so nobody can see them. These are ways that they have to operate in foreign countries and when they're not supposed to be in those countries. We also look for landowners and business owners who would be willing to allow us to, on a landowner perspective, to be able to use their land, maybe live on their land, or to use a barn or an old barn to be able to conduct a meeting in the middle of the night for them to do planning with a higher command element. Shop owners to be able to use a back storeroom or a warehouse to do these types of meetings as well. But they also have to understand the socioeconomic aspects of areas and what support and how they can support that community as well through their operations. They have to be, they operate in and around communities because that's the way we operate throughout the globe. Ordinary citizens are the first ones to notice something that's different. And that, you know, it causes them to have to be that much more careful. The impact on the area. Throughout the exercise, throughout the 7 states, we'll have about 1,200 people that are participating in the exercise from all of DOD and our interagency partners. The footprint that we see here in Martin and Howard County is only about 60 people. Very small footprint, not a lot of burden on the land. We've had some great Americans that are willing to allow us to use their property already between the 2 counties. And that physical impact is very low. The funding.
At this time, I want to apologize for using somebody else's words in my original video and going off my interpretation of those words. The FBI's released the video. Anybody can go and watch the video and come up with their own conclusions. They can judge everything on themselves. I shouldn't have used somebody else's words. I should have just kept it to what I personally witnessed or what I personally seen. But I did. I used somebody else's words. I used my interpretation of what they were saying. And at this time, you know, anybody can go look at the FBI video and come to their own conclusions, come make their own judgments. There again, I apologize for the people feel they're misled. I shouldn't have used somebody else's words and recounted the story that way. Thanks.
Very low. The funding that we see, these guys have to eat. We have to supply them. We have to have fuel. I have a backside support that will be driving trucks. I have specialty role players that come in, and I'll have to put them in lodging. We see between the 2 counties about $150,000 that'll be injected into your economy from those type of activities. For example, food. If my team says I need 50 pounds of potatoes, I'm not bringing those potatoes from Fort Bragg. I'm not bringing those from North Carolina. My guys will go to the grocery store, they'll purchase 50 pounds of potatoes, and then they will be appropriately put in an item or in a location to be recovered by the training unit. So we're going to buy those things here. What can you expect? Now understand that this slideshow is our standard slideshow that we use to brief the counties and the cities. Within the cities, you won't see most of this, I would tell you. For example, increased aircraft in the area at night. You'll see that out in the rural area. We have a resupply, an aerial drop that will occur, and then some paratroopers as well will jump into Martin County in early August. It won't happen within the city limits. Noise complaints. If my guys are noisy here in the city, they're really doing something wrong, is what I would tell you. That third bullet, conducting suspicious activities. That's where here in the city, we're looking at using the city from an aspect of conducting clandestine meetings within the city limits. There'll be no kinetic activity. There won't be gunfire going on. There won't be things like that. Our footprints within the cities are probably 5 to 6 people at the most when we do these meetings.
Officials couldn't tell us exactly how many troops and what type of equipment will be sent here, and whether or not they've already arrived. But people involved shouldn't be hard to identify.
They'll all be wearing an armband with a marking that identifies them as part of the exercise.
People here in Big Spring tell us they've seen unusual military activity near the airport during the past few days. We drove around the area today for about an hour, but didn't see any of the tanks or troops viewers have called us about.
If they have a legal reason to, no, it doesn't bother me.
Mark Schaefer doesn't mind military presence in the area, as long as it's not on his property.
If somebody comes through my backyard, I want to know it.
Let's go, boys.
Others believe the potential disruption of Jade Helm may be worth it.
It's going to boost local economy as well, because you're going to have thousands of troops here buying groceries, the military is going to be buying fuel in the area.
As for rampant rumors about Jade Helm somehow being behind Walmart closures, well, company, city, and military reps all say there's no connection. Reporting in Midland, Julia Dang, News West 9.
But one of the most important things, and I know I've said it previously, is we link in with the law enforcement officers. They know when and where we're conducting activity. That way we actually invite the police department to be near the activity. That way they're able to answer constituent calls on that. The other thing that we do is we brief that prior to the activity going on. That way the police chief can let the dispatch know that this is occurring, so that when they field phone calls from concerned citizens, they're able to meet that off or cut that off at the pass, so to say. And the other thing that we do as well is we make sure that it tries to get out at the morning and evening roll call, so the officers that are on duty know what's going on and know where it's occurring. One of the things that we do as well, they will be carrying weapons, but it won't be live ammunition. It'll all be blank ammunition. Just to correct one thing that was in the newspaper on Sunday that I read was they'll have blank ammunition, but there will not be any explosions. We won't be setting off live demolition out here. The guys will be wearing civilian attire or a mixed uniform. They may be wearing fatigue bottoms and a t-shirt, but that's not normally anything that's out of the ordinary in West Texas from what I've seen, especially during hunting season. And they may be driving civilian vehicles throughout the area. So really, within the city limits, if you notice my guys, they're probably really doing something wrong. Safety measures. One of the most important things, the #1 priority for United States Army Special Operations Command is the safety of our civilians.
This facility right here, this white tent behind me, this is our medical triage center. I was fortunate enough, our team is fortunate enough to have 2 medics on board. Both are trauma medics. One's
daily communication between law enforcement and Department of Defense. Anytime we're conducting activity in your jurisdiction, we will make sure that we coordinate. We have medics. Each Special Forces detachment has 2 Special Forces medics that are trained to a very high trauma level that will be with each element. We will also have a support element that will have a senior non-commissioned officer, Special Forces medic, who is responsible for the evac and anything that those 2 medics cannot handle. He'll be the one that will be directly interfacing with the hospitals throughout the area. We coordinate with the life flight. In fact, I was able to sit down with Jonetta Sweat this afternoon and get some information based off of the hospital and the life flight to be able to pass on to our medical planners. Clear marking of the participants. That, for us, that's one of the big things. We make sure that all of our guys have some type of marking that they'll all be wearing an armband with a marking that identifies them as part of the exercise. And if we have role players, for example, a landowner or a business owner who is participating in the exercise, we'll ensure that they have marking as well, that they're part of the exercise. Because there are times where we ask at times the law enforcement folks to do a traffic stop for us, to check our guys, to see why they're doing what they're doing, when they're doing it, and why they're doing it. Because the police, I know I've been questioned by the police, and they know how to make you squirm. So what we'll do is we'll make sure that the officers, should they decide to participate, we'll make sure that they are marked as well. That way the detachments and the members know how to react properly. If that officer conducts a traffic stop and he's not wearing one of those armbands, it is a true traffic stop. They want to make sure that they act appropriately for that traffic stop. We also do coordination with local residents. So if and what I mean by that is, just as we do with the law enforcement, if there's activity occurring around an area, we will actually go out to doors and knock on doors, introduce ourselves, and let them know that there'll be activity happening between this time and this time. That way they're not caught off guard. That should help lessen the calls of the constituents to to the law enforcement as well. We do fire condition review. That's really for our rural environments aspect. And our public affairs office as well does public announcements. For example, in North Carolina, for another exercise, they do newspaper ads announcing the exercise. They do radio spots, and they also get with the local television stations, and they do a small, short announcement on the television to allow to get the widest dissemination that the activity or the exercise is occurring. At this time, if you have any questions or concerns, I'm willing to answer those.
Mr. Ward, you have any questions?
Yes, sir. First, Mr. Meade and Master Sergeant Rawson, I want to thank you for your service to our country. Appreciate that.
Thank you, sir.
I was just had a couple of questions, and you've already started talking to the landowners and
yes, sir.
Setting things up. I just have to ask, how does FBI and DEA work with the military on an operation like this?
Well, generally speaking, sir, the FBI and DEA provide us liaison officers up at our command level, depending on how the scenario is written. One of the ways the FBI and DEA are working with us here is in Arizona. They will actually do some questioning for us at one of the airports in Arizona.
Okay. And do y'all use any personnel from NATO, UN, or
no, sir,
DHS?
Not currently for Jade Helm. It is U.S. only. We that has been one of the discussions that I'm not sure if it has occurred yet, but.
Okay. Ms. Harwood.
Yes, I have one question, and I'm not sure how to ask it, but does your training also include like drug cartel type?
No, ma'am. No, ma'am.
Just okay.
It is a military scenario. We're not putting the drug cartel aspects into it for Jade Helm 15. That may change. I'm not a scenario writer, so I don't tell them what to write. They tell me what they've written. So.
If I'll break an ankle on the ice,
right.
You know, or God forbid something much worse, whatever medical assistance they have there, I understand they have one Army 11 Bravo combat medic who can help out. At least he can. Army 11 Bravo combat medic that can help out. At least he can get them stabilized enough to where it's something more serious. We can get them here,
right.
And then get them both.
always been built to last. Sometimes it takes a while. Recognition is seldom fast. There are many inches in a mile. Always been built to last. Sometimes it takes a while. Recognition is seldom fast. There are many inches in a mile. True music has always been built to last. Sometimes it takes a while. Recognition is seldom fast. There are many inches in a mile.